I've just been trained throughout the years. I've literally been trained by the algorithm to maybe speak in a punchier way because otherwise it's going to get overlooked. Or I've been trained by the types of things that take off, right? Like those are more polarizing things. I've also been trained to, if I'm going to be completely honest, being way more of a stickler and coming across way more as a hyper religious person than I actually am. There are times in which I wrap things in more religious language just so that I don't face criticism from religious people online. I think that if I stayed in this place, then it could lead to me living a double life. And that's the last thing that I want. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda Pittman and I talk about faith, confidence, and lifestyle from a Christian woman's perspective. I don't know where to start this video. I have, as of recently, been feeling less authentic. And a value of mine is authenticity. So there's been a little bit of a disconnect whenever it comes to content creation. I don't know how long I've been feeling this way. I think it's something that has come about with the new year. And I'm thinking about how to show up, how to embody the word that God gave me for this year, and how to be a light. And there is the way that I've been doing content up until this point, and I have been wondering if there needs to be a shift. Now, as a backstory, I started creating content on YouTube over 10 years ago now. It was back in 2013 that my husband and I recorded our first video for YouTube. And it was really birthed out of a place of burden because we started creating videos on dating God's way. And it was hard for us to find anybody who was like us, who was dating God's way, especially on a campus like SMU. I mean, we made the school newspaper because we got engaged in college, and it was just very countercultural where we were. I didn't expect anybody to care. I didn't expect anybody to listen. I thought, okay, if anybody listens to our video, it's going to be because of Michael, not because of me. And I was surprised when people cared and people followed along. And whenever things shifted and Michael, who goes by MJ now, MJ didn't want to continue, not because he lacked a burden, but because he had other priorities. It really became okay, I feel called to this. I feel led to continue creating content on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I feel called to be a light. And the way that it all started was pointing people back to Jesus. I mean, one of our first videos was about purity, right? Because we're looking to date God's way, and it was called Purity Takes a Savior. And I even remember my husband, whenever we were in college and engaged, he encouraged me to start a blog because I loved to write. And he was like, why not write? Why not blog? And again, I thought to myself, like, who is going to care about what it is that I have to say, right? Like, I'm not, and back then the word influencer wasn't really a thing, but I'm not popular, I'm not influential. Why would somebody care? But then, you know, whenever I would do blogs and share them, people would read them and they would care. And that was just such a huge part of my formation whenever it came to God's plan for my life. And because it was all founded in bringing God glory and pointing people back to Jesus, I thought to myself, this is my path in life. And I really believe that the Lord made it clear that it was. That being said, being a content creator isn't easy. It's meaningful, it's purposeful, it gives you an opportunity to build a community and make an impact. But there are challenges that come along with it. And throughout the years, because my audience and community is almost entirely Christian, there have just been times throughout the years in which I haven't fully lived up to people's standards and expectations of me based on the content that I post. And it's many times something small, right? Like, for instance, I recently posted a video, and it was a clip from one of these YouTube videos, and it was about impossible thinking. I had done a video with my best friend Ave, and I was like, one impossible thing I'd like to do is go to the bottom of the ocean and find out why people disappeared. But whenever I said it, I was laughing. And the reason why I was laughing was because it seemed impossible. It seemed like something I wouldn't be able to do, and I was laughing at the impossibility of it. But I saw somebody commented on the clip of it on Instagram, like, oh, you laughing at people dying is just like not the move. I can't remember exactly what they said. And whenever I saw that, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I've heard much worse comments, right? Like, throughout the years, I've heard a lot of really demeaning comments. So that one wasn't as bad, but it was a reminder of any time that I've tried to just be myself and be off script, my humanity isn't welcomed, right? Like, there is an intent and a motive assumed sometimes when things like that come up. Another example, again, this is a small example. I've heard much worse. They're just recent examples. It's like I posted a video, the same video with Avriel, and which speaks to something, because I'm much more myself when I'm around people who are my friends or my family or whatever it may be. Like, that's when I'm most myself. And so the clip at the beginning of the video, I was saying, you know, I'm too grown to have a Shein closet. Mind you, like, these clothes are not expensive clothes that I'm even wearing right now. So it didn't even come from like a pretentious place. It came from a place of, I want to improve the quality of the clothing that I wear. And I have a desire to level up in a specific way. And it's not a spiritual way, it's a physical way, right? And I want to invest more in pieces. Anyways, I don't want to get into defending myself, but you know, the person who commented said it was snooty, and you know, she's a 38-year-old and she still wears Shein and all of that. And the thing is, I have no problem with Shein. I still have plenty of Shein in my closet. And this is no shade to that commenter. You know, I'm so glad that you're following along and that you watched the video. Like, that's not the point or the purpose of this at all. But it's just bringing up another example of when I'm just being silly, when I'm just being candid, when I'm just being off guard, like, many times it's taken the wrong way. And I totally feel like it's cringe to cry on the internet. So I'm gonna like not do that. But I've gone through many, many, many years of being a content creator, and there are little small, not as offensive comments like the ones that were made, but then there are some like really big ones, right? And where people are actually really mean, or, you know, say that I'm being demonic because of a thumbnail that I made, and they thought I'm doing some sort of demonic symbolism or something. I'm like, what? Like, I'm actually that person who is very mindful about demonic symbolism, and I'm very anti that. And it's just like, wow, the people who are in the church, even when you're living for the sake of being poured out for them and you're trying to be a light, even then it can come with a lot of criticism. And it's much worse when it's coming from, for lack of a better word, religious people. Don't get me wrong, I have my own judgy moments, my own religious moments. You know, I have a specific standard I love to abide by as well. And so this is by no means like pointing fingers at people. I'm just sharing my experience, and I'm just trying to be vulnerable. And, you know, even in this moment, I'm like literally trying to filter my words so that I'm just more understood. And I think that kind of speaks to what happens with parasocial relationships. It's like the creator, when they've built an audience in a specific way, begins to create only for the sake of appeasing their audience. And it's important for me to be a light to everybody who's a part of my channel or follows me in different places. It's very important. It's important for me to never ruin my witness. However, it's also very important to me to be authentic. And what I've found is that I've just been trained throughout the years. I've literally been trained by the algorithm to maybe speak in a punchier way because otherwise it's going to get overlooked. Or I've been trained by the types of things that take off, right? Like those are more polarizing things. And I've also been trained to, if I'm going to be completely honest, being way more of a stickler and coming across way more as a hyper religious person than I actually am. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean I don't actually follow the Lord, or I don't mean what I'm talking about. I mean every word. I mean every word, and I'm about this life. But what I mean by that is there are times in which I wrap things in more religious language just so that I don't face criticism from religious people online. There are times in which I will literally not speak on a specific topic that people ask me to speak about because I'm like, they're not going to actually receive what I say or like what I say. They're not going to receive my opinion because it's not the churchy answer. And there are times where I just feel inauthentic when I'm filming. I feel more formal than I actually am in person. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with formality. And I do desire, to share good information and teach from time to time. And it's not authentic, the fact that I'm teaching or sharing information. It's the fact that I feel like I have to come across as an authority every single time I speak, because that's the audience that I've built, and the audience has trained me, right? Like, it's been this back and forth of, this is what you can speak about, this is what you can't speak about, this is the position you can take, this is the position you can't take. Yeah, Amanda, you can be human as long as it doesn't offend me, right? And in fact, I don't even know if a lot of people have the posture, Amanda, you can be human, right? I actually think that I would create so much more content if I had the freedom to be myself and not necessarily be a brand, but to actually talk about other things that I care about. And I care about God and His kingdom more than anything else. I care about that more than anything else. But the truth of the matter is that when I feel siloed and when I feel like this is the only thing I can talk about, and I can, even when it comes to a spiritual topic, it's like, I can talk about this, but I can't talk about that. It just starts to feel very limiting. And I just feel like I've limited myself for such a long time. I feel like a lot of it is self-imposed, and I think a lot of it is just me responding to the feedback that I get, right? It's like classical conditioning. It's like many times when I've posted in a very authentic way and I'm literally just sharing my own voice, or even if I'm doing something that's different or outside of the box, it's gotten more negative reinforcement than it's gotten positive reinforcement. And then when I've shared in a more religious way or a more hyperbolic way or a more dogmatic way, it seems to perform really well. And so I think that's the challenge of being a content creator. I don't think a lot of people actually recognize that. And it also gives me a lot of empathy for other Christian creators, right? Because there's some people where it's like, they'll take a stance that I don't agree with, and I'm rolling my eyes, or maybe someone else is coming across as hyper religious in such a way that I'm like, I actually think that this could be pushing people away. And yet I think to myself, what if they feel trained to do this? When you create content, you want to be successful, right? You don't start out hoping to fail, but it's tough when you're affirmed in a specific way and then you become almost a caricature. You almost become a caricature of who you are rather than who you truly are. And I think at times I have felt like a persona. Not all the time. I don't want you guys to take my words and think, oh wow, Amanda's just fake all the time. It's not true. But the truth is that I show you one portion of myself. I show you the me where I am overcome by the Holy Spirit. I show you the me when I am turning it on and heightening the stakes just a little bit more, heightening the energy a little bit more. I'm showing you the me that has really dug in and studied, but not necessarily the off-the-cuff, unscripted, no-notes version of me, right? I'm not really showing you a lot of the things that I love, like gardening. I'm not showing you my family very much. I'm not talking about other things that I actually do care about or that are interesting to me. And I think that throughout the years, I've kind of resented it sometimes. and this is kind of like really scary and vulnerable to admit that, you know, like there have been times in which I'm like, wow, I feel so limited and I resent that I'm this Christian content creator. And right now I'm struggling, and I would still have the ability to create and show up in front of everyone if I weren't expected to come with a word, if I weren't expected to say something profound or pour out. You know, what if I just wanted to yap, you know? And I think that there's something so beautiful about being honest and being real and being authentic. And that's one of my highest values. And I think another thing is that a lot of people just have the wrong perception of who I am, right? Like they look at a persona, and I'm not trying to put on, but it's like when you only see a part of me, you can think that that's my entire personality, right? And they look at that, they're like, oh, I bet you're somebody who always has things together. I bet you're somebody who always has a list and is getting all this stuff done. And they can make assumptions about my character simply by the way that I speak or the type of content that I create. You know, I've even noticed when people are less comfortable just like being human around me, and then like I can tell when people are reserved and they're like trying to sound more spiritual around me because they're looking at my platform or something. And at the end of the day, sometimes they're surprised when it's like, wow, Amanda, you're really warm and you really understand and you're really not judgmental and all of that. And so it's just like, wow, that's the kind of effect that my platform can sometimes have. And this is not me negating all of the good, because many times, well, I am authentic, right? It's just showing a portion of me. And so the positive thing is that I am authentic. The positive thing is I have made a really positive impact, and it has blessed a lot of people's lives. And there have been times where I am showing more of my personality and it is received well. And so I don't want to just like focus on the negative. But I guess I'm just sharing all of this to say that this has been a challenge for me, and I've felt really burdened about it recently. I want to be a little bit more experimental with my content. And I don't know what that's going to look like. It could look like me doing a lot of the same stuff, but doing it in a tweaked way. It could look like me talking on a different topic. It could look like, oh wow, I'm doing vloggy style content. It could look like I am talking about something that's happening in the media and I'm giving my opinion or 2 cents. It could look like silly videos, videos with my husband. And that's another thing. This is my just stream of consciousness, so just rock with me. That's another thing, is that like I'm very silly. Like I'm very silly, I'm very goofy. And I felt a little emotional even just talking about it, because I just feel like people wouldn't know that about me, you know? Like, and I don't always feel the freedom to be that. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments that say like, Amanda, I wanna see that side of you. Like, I love goofiness. I love, you know, lifestyle content, you know? And so it's like, that's the truth. That's the truth. I can at any moment be fully me, right? The challenge, that's the truth, but the challenge is all of the years of learning how to show up online in a specific way and being trained by the feedback and breaking out of it. It's all of the years of, okay, but I was showing up as myself right here and people didn't like it, or I gave my actual opinion here and they think that like I'm just like super off or whatever it may be, or just questioning my motives. And yeah, so I was talking to God about this. It might be easier if I find my notebook, but I'll paraphrase. So I was talking to God about this, and I was just like, man, sometimes I just feel so inauthentic. I feel like I can't just fully show up. And he asked me this question. He was like, Amanda, what type of content would you create if you never set a precedent? If you never began with Christian dating, and there was never Confident Woman Co., and you never took off on social media because you're talking about Jesus, like what would you actually create? And I couldn't answer that question. I had no idea. And that's a very vulnerable place to be in, because I even posted this on Threads, I think like last year or something. I was like, Jesus is my whole personality, because honestly, I don't have anything else to offer. And I do think that that's funny and everything, and he's the best thing that you could possibly offer. But I do think that there is a belief in there that is not all the way healthy, right? Like there is an inherent value in me being who I am, and showing Jesus, and showing different sides of me, so that people can see that you can be a human and live your life and follow Jesus. And it's funny because it's like I see other people do it and they do it well. And so why is it such a challenge for me? And I think it's just because all of the years of building up into the audience and the type of dynamic that I've created. Anyways, so God asked me that, and I was like, I have no idea. I really don't know. And, I'm wrestling with this belief of would anybody care about anything else? And do I even have anything else to offer? And then the Lord was like, just go about your day and pay attention to what comes to mind and what you actually care about, and essentially learn more about yourself and who you are and the types of things that you may draw inspiration from. And basically just be in observation phase. And the Lord was assuring me that he doesn't want me to be inauthentic. Of course, he still wants me to do ministry. He still wants me to share the gospel and share Christian content. He wants me to do all of those things, and he's never changed his mind about that. He's been really clear about that throughout the years, but he wants me to be myself. And I'm really grateful that God is giving me the liberty to do that. I think that there's another part of me that has felt like anything that I do that's not about Jesus is vain, because everything else is going to be burned up. But even getting this reassurance from the Lord of knowing he wants me to be authentic and he wants me to learn how to show up fully, it's just very, very assuring. And it builds my confidence in that area. I think another reason why I even debated making this video is because I was like, well, what if I create this video and then nothing changes? And I realized I do just want to create Christian content. I don't know, maybe the value in it isn't knowing the answer or having an end game or figuring it out. Maybe the goal of this is just for me to be real and be authentic about where I'm at in the process. There have been times in which I'm like, man, I wish I could show up in a different way and in a new way that people don't expect. And it's like, I can. That was one of the things that the Lord shared with me. He was like, Amanda, the confines that you perceive don't exist. Whatever boundaries you perceive, whatever limitations you perceive, they're just not real. They don't exist. And I kind of envisioned it being in a room and believing that the walls are right here. But it's just because you believe that the walls are right here doesn't mean that they are. They don't exist. These were the confines that I visualized, and God's like, that doesn't exist. It's completely built up in my mind, and I recognize that's a stronghold. It's a stronghold to believe that something's there when it's not. And so me having the freedom to explore more, or to be vulnerable, or to just show more of myself and just different sides of me, is an act of me breaking down those strongholds that have been built throughout the years, so that I don't resent content creation. I don't resent living for the Lord in a public way. I don't resent being a voice. And I think that this is more of a strategy for the long haul, because I think that if I stayed in this place, then it could lead to me living a double life. And that's the last thing that I want. I don't want to be a specific person on camera and a completely different person off camera. And I think I had starting to feel that there is even less of that overlap. And I was even at a friend's birthday, and I jokingly said to everyone, I was like, yeah, I gatekeep my personality online. And everybody was laughing and agreeing, yeah, Amanda, you do gatekeep your personality. I was like, dang, yeah. Like, they're even agreeing, right? And don't get me wrong, like my friends are incredibly supportive of my voice online and the impact that I make. And they don't want me to water that down one bit. Like, they care about God's purpose more than anything. But I think just hearing that, yeah, they perceive that my personality truly is gate kept, like the outside world doesn't truly know me, is actually crazy work. It's actually crazy work. And I think that for a while I had a mentality of like, you know, if people don't know me, like, they don't need to know my personality because people are following me to get a word or whatever it may be. But like I said, if this doesn't get resolved, it will create such an inauthenticity that it'll create a divide, and I'll have two different personalities. And that's the last thing that I want. I want to fully live for the Lord and do it being myself. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know what I'm going to create. I don't know if I'm going to fall back into what I have been doing. There are a lot of unknowns, but here I am being honest and being vulnerable and trusting in faith and being confident that the Lord who began this work in me will finish it until completion, and he's going to show me how I can be myself and live for him, and how shining his light doesn't mean dimming my own, but it looks like being fully myself, and fully myself is his daughter at the end of the day. And so y'all pray for me on this journey. Thanks for watching this video, and yeah, it's like super vulnerable to put out there. But I appreciate if you've made it this far in the video. Thanks for watching. For all of you guys who have been just like crazy supportive throughout the years, and even really supportive when I've like been more myself or done different types of things, or even left comments. Like, I would love to see you do different types of things. Like, I just want to say thank you. Like, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It helps what little bit of courage I have to do it. And it's so funny because like, I feel like I've had big leaps of faith to do big things for God. And that's like, I can do that. But like, this feels so different. And so anyways, I was just saying thank you. Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I hope you stick along for the ride. I don't have a perfect bow to tie this up with. And so I think I'm just going to leave it at that and let it be unresolved and not have a word. But let's see what God does. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below. I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.